Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to IGN's News, Games, and More. I'm Max Scoville, and it is my job to pretend to drive the show today, and I'm joined by my good friend, Matt Kim.
Hello.
That's you. We did it.
Yep.
Destin Legary.
That is me.
Hey, everybody.
And Josh Dew.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what's up. A whole lot of stuff is up. All sorts of great stuff is happening throughout the World Wide Web, and we're going to try to talk about the interesting parts of it as opposed to all of the things that have been disrupted by a global pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So, do you guys like video games?
Yes, it says so on my hat.
I was going to say that's you clearly. Okay, well, name 5 of their songs. So, do you like math?
Actually, yes.
Oh. Well, all right. Well, okay. Well, that will make this next thing an easy sell. I love this. There's a teacher named Charles Coomer who put up an entire math lesson from Half-Life Alyx in VR. Very early on in that game, you get a hold of some dry erase markers, and he proceeded to do an entire, just like you would on a dry erase board, lesson on angle vocabulary. And he just got up, and I think we have some B-roll to go with this, but it's just. Like, I love that this is how people are coping with having to work remotely.
Mm-hmm. It's super awesome. Like, the description of the video says, like, a review of angle vocabulary for homeschooling week because I have to teach today. But Half-Life Alyx just came out. So it's like, he wants to play Half-Life Alyx, but he's got to do his work, so he just does both. It's great.
So I'm totally reminded of in a weird way of Duke Nukem Forever, which very early on had a dry erase board and you could like pick up a marker and draw stuff, but all anyone ever did was just draw dicks. And I feel like that is the difference between Duke Nukem Forever and Half-Life Alyx, is that there it's like, I drew a dick, and this guy's like, so anyway, the ankle vocabulary.
Well, to be fair, in Duke Nukem Forever, I think you could also use poop to write on the chalkboard.
That's a good point.
And I think there were already penises drawn on that board, so people would just emulate that. But yeah, it also did that. This is really cool though. It was just sort of neat to see how 1-to-1, and the more that I see about Half-Life Alyx, I'm just absolutely floored by how precise everything is. Matt, you were talking off the air about how you've played the game before. What are your impressions?
Yeah, I'm really digging it. I think so. For this topic that we're talking about, I think it's really cool because this chalkboard, this marker scene is totally optional. Like, you really don't have to draw anything anywhere. The game doesn't like, hey, check out these markers, but it's like just subtle enough that it encourages you to explore. And as you're like looking around, you're like, oh, can I actually like draw? And oh my god, I can. And so that's really neat. And that he turned it into a whole like math lesson for his kids is great.
Did you draw anything when you played? Did you like make a cool picture or anything?
No, I scribbled. I just kind of like drew like a circle and like a square, and then I erased it, and that's about it because I'm not imaginative or creative. But no,
how easy was it? Like, how smooth was, like, you know?
Oh, it's great. Like, you have to uncap the marker and everything. It feels, it's supposed to emulate as realistically as possible. Until you get to like all the sci-fi stuff, in which case it's not real, but all the physics-based stuff is super cool.
Yeah, like in the background of this whole video, you just hear like all the machines and stuff in the background. It's awesome.
Chat's asking to remove the cursor. That's the teacher's footage. I'm just showing it as B-roll because we're talking about the story. I did post a link to the full video. You should definitely go check out what this guy did. It's pretty fun to watch in real time.
And his handwriting is so good.
It's so neat.
It's so like teacher nice handwriting.
I think that's
my handwriting also bad. Like, it made my bad handwriting look bad in the game. So that's how realistic it is.
I think this is really my favorite thing in VR is just doing incredibly mundane stuff and just having that, like, I don't know what you would. It's like the inverse of like an uncanny valley where it takes you out of it. It's more that it's something so organic feeling that it makes you, it draws you in further. One of my favorite VR experiences is the Blood and Truth, which was the guys who did like the Sony London Heist PSVR. And that was one of the first things I did in PlayStation VR. And one of the coolest moments in that is like I think you find like you're hiding behind a desk and there's like, bad guys come in and you're supposed to shoot at them. And I instinctively, like, I picked up something and I threw it. And it wasn't like, press A to pick up and press, R2 to throw. It was just like you would grab something and throw it. And it was just so fluid and organic that I was immediately like, oh God, that works. Like it didn't even, it was the same motion that would go into like doing something in real life, but in a game, it's weird to kind of remove that layer of having that controller in your hand. So
yeah, I think that's where you get like that level of immersion that like, once you break through that, you're like, wow, okay, VR is actually pretty something. I remember I was introducing my dad to it for the first time, and I showed him Job Simulator, and he was complaining like the whole time about how unrealistic the graphics looked, and it's just they're all flat colors. And then he was playing for maybe like 20 minutes, and then I look over and I see him bending over, and I look at the screen, and his hands are all like flying all over the place, and I see he's taking off the controllers. But he's about to drop them on the ground. But in the game, it's on a table. And so I was like, "Hey, you're gonna drop the controllers," and he's like, "Oh my God!" Like I had no idea. Like I thought I was putting it on a table. I'm like, "See, it doesn't matter how realistic the graphics are. If the physics and everything just works, then you just kind of forget all that."
My favorite early VR story is kind of similar, where I was playing a demo for a game, and you have a full range of motions, and I think I dropped like a tool that I needed in the demo. Like I just dropped it on the ground, and I was like, oh, I dropped it. What's the like automatic pickup button? Like the X button if you're playing like an FPS or something like that.
Yeah,
and they're like, no, you gotta pick it up. And then I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to grab it, but without bending my knees because I'm so used to just not moving. And so I'm just like, I can't reach it. And then the demo guy was just like, hey, moron, bend your knees. And I'm like, oh. So I crouched down and I'm picking it up. I'm like, oh, wow, virtual reality, the future.
So going back to the sort of divisive topic of educational things, I remember like growing up, like educational software and games were like two entirely different things. And now it's like, oh, you can learn things with the game. I mean, I guess it's just a dry erase board, but this brings to mind the Ubisoft patched in like basically a museum mode, because they have the incredibly like realistic like Assassin's Creed locations, and they were like, let's have a version where there's no stabbing and instead you're just learning about pyramids. And I wish so much we'd get that in VR, because that would be. I thought they were going to add that.
It's like have you ever like gone through Google Earth locations, and you can like kind of explore like historical landmarks in kind of this VR like space? You can actually do it in Google like Daydream VR.
Right.
Like open up Google Earth and like walk around the Taj Mahal. It's pretty wild.
That's so cool. Like, I mean, we're like dating ourselves here, but like when I was in school, it was like you put in like a CD-ROM and it was like maybe there's a 5-second video of like a pyramid. It's not like you can't go explore it in real time.
But back then, that blew your mind. Like sort of like, remember FMV when that was a whole thing, and we were like, "Whoa! Imagine the storytelling we can do with this."
It's like we're so, I don't know. I feel like we're so spoiled. It's nuts. Anyway, shifting gears here on the subject of Valve, since we're talking about Half-Life a little bit. There was an IGN Unfiltered, Ryan McCaffrey's interview show that did a sort of a bit of a deep dive on the origins and the history of Valve's Orange Box, the infamous bundle that simultaneously debuted Portal, Team Fortress 2, and Half-Life 2 Episode 2, while also including Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 2 Episode 1. So like this ridiculous 5-game value pack of mostly brand new games. And they kind of went into this and they talked about how the reason Valve decided to do this is that typically they have different teams internally working on separate projects simultaneously. And as they were kind of approaching the release window or the finishing date of Episode 2, Portal, and Team Fortress 2, they were like, oh, these are all going to come out really close to each other. And there's sort of this inherent thing that happened in the office where people working on separate projects but sitting near each other would be helping each other but feeling guilty because they were working on another team's project. And so they were like, why don't we just work together? Why don't we all ship like these games at the same time? And they were like, well, that's a great idea. And then they hit a second problem, which was that retailers didn't want to sell a bundle because typically bundles are for like old or cheap games. Mm-hmm. And so they figured out how to work around that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a really cool story. My favorite little tidbit about that was you also mentioned how it was also supposed to help Portal, because at the time, if they were like, can we release Portal like standalone? Like no one really plays first-person puzzle games, and so it's a weird, like, but it's a AAA game. We just don't kind of know how to market it, and so they just added it into this bundle, and now it's one of the best, well-received video games of all time, which is really cool.
So wild.
It's so crazy because Portal on its own, I don't think would have been able to sell as well as it did. It was they basically Trojan horsed it into the wild like that.
Out of all the games on the orange box, what's your favorite? Mine's Portal, easily.
Mine's Portal. Yeah.
I didn't get into Portal until really late. I have a more like emotional connection to TF2. I spent a lot of time playing TF2.
I think TF2 is probably the most popular. Well, I don't know. You could argue that Portal is or TF2 is, but TF2 still has a player base. I think if you're a PC player, maybe you lean towards Portal 2. Chat, what do you think? What was your favorite game on the orange box? There's so many excellent games, like Half-Life 2's on there, right? So, yeah. Jeez.
The thing is,
that was a good bundle.
Nobody played Team Fortress 2 if you bought the orange box on a console. Like, they were all on PC.
That's true.
Yeah, I wasn't playing TF2 on a console, yeah.
Yeah.
I was definitely playing that on PC.
Like, I got orange box for the 360, and so nobody was playing Team Fortress 2 on there. So I was just playing the single-player games, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could only pick one and all the other ones fade out of existence, which one would you pick?
I mean, what do you mean? It's like, they just don't exist in history?
Correct.
Oh, I mean,
that's horrible.
That's horrible.
Yeah,
it makes the game a little more fun.
Without Half-Life in there, then you wouldn't have Half-Life Alyx now, right?
True.
Okay, better question.
No.
There's no better question to this.
A better question.
There's no better question.
Marry, kill the orange box.
I have no answer. I have no answer.
All
Can I marry all of them? That's my safe answer.
I think I would marry Portal.
Sorry.
I would marry. Actually, you know what? I would marry Portal. I don't think I'd marry any of the other two. That's a good one.
Yeah, probably Portal, but there's kind of a loophole with Portal because it does take place within the same universe as Half-Life. So if Portal exists, Half-Life de facto sort of has to exist. So I would say Portal, and then I would, weasel my way in to get the other properties to still exist.
So what do you guys think of the odds of getting something like the orange box in the future? We've kind of seen Valve take a break from publishing, but now we're getting Half-Life Alyx, and they had the lab a couple of years ago. How crazy would it be if they came out and they were like, hey, here's the VR teal box, maybe?
Teal box.
I mean, that would be hell of a coup, right? It'd be like, here's Portal 3 in VR, Half-Life Episode 3 in VR, and Team Fortress 3 also in VR, and people would that would hands down blow up the internet, at least as far as VR goes. And
if they were all actually really good.
Yeah. But I was thinking, do you guys even see bundles anymore? Other than Steam sales, which just bundle properties together? But
you sort of do, because you see all the Kingdom Hearts games just sort of came out in a collection, right? And often companies will say, here's the Assassin's Creed, whatever, Ezio trilogy. And they bundle them together in weird ways. So yeah, you still see them. I just don't think they did as good of a job of being something that hadn't really been done before, being marketed in the way that Orange Box was, because Orange Box was a whole different beast compared to all the other ones.
So I got a question. So if someone could Google this really easily, I'm currently on cellular. If I look crappy, it's because that my Wi-Fi got shut off. But
I got you.
Was Orange Box, did that mark the release of Half-Life on consoles? Or had it come out previously?
Half-Life 1 or 2?
Half-Life 2.
Type away.
Because I remember
I got a mechanical keyboard, so it adds to the drama when I type it in the search. So
because I'm thinking about this, and when the Orange Box came out, I feel like Steam was still sort of young enough that Valve was basically trying to attract people to use Steam as a proprietary gaming platform. But I know that Half-Life. I don't think Half-Life 2 launched on consoles. Did it?
So,
Like I can't remember.
It did. So some interesting facts about this. Actually, I have the Google results here. Valve announced Half-Life 2 at E3 2003 and released it through its new distribution service Steam after delaying it by over a year. So it sort of seems like it launched Half-Life 2 with the Steam platform, and it does say that it. Well, I don't know about that launch date. Matt, did you come up with anything?
No, it seems like you might be right. Actually, Half-Life 2 may have made its console debut through the Orange Box.
I could be misremembering this, but like that would be really interesting if, in the same way that like we're all talking about Half-Life Alyx now, and that's a thing that requires a high-end virtual VR rig and a good PC. But let's say they hold off and like they kind of ride that wave of like hype around it, and then launch it on consoles. Like we heard about yesterday about the HP doing a next gen VR headset with Microsoft's involvement. Like we don't know anything about Xbox wanting to get involved with VR. It would be kind of nuts if we found out that, hey, Half-Life Alyx is going to be coming to console VR alongside other stuff, and get people kind of excited with that, and then use that to sort of like, in the same way that they were like, hey, here's Portal, something you wouldn't have tried otherwise. They kind of Trojan horse something like that. And
yeah, I got you. Actually, it did come out on the Xbox 2 years before it came out on the Orange Box.
Okay, so it was kind of like a Game of the Year edition type of doing things.
Yeah. But Half-Life Episode 2 was new.
Gotcha.
Can you guys see any other like devs or studios that would do another like bundle? I'm thinking like maybe Ubisoft, like if they put in like an Assassin's Creed and like a Watch Dogs and something else all together in a bundle and call it the Ubi bundle or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think the value. I mean, I think like if you release 3 AAA Ubisoft series in a single bundle, it would be priced comparably to 3 AAA games. It won't just be one $60 bundle.
Yeah, exactly. Well, unless they had like maybe like a secret pet project, like a Portal-esque type game that they like don't think they can launch on its own. They like pair it up with something else.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's happened since the Orange Box came out is that people have gotten comfortable with the idea of paying $15 for a smaller downloadable. Like the digital market has managed to totally widen up the like how much you can charge for a game, how long a game could be.
Yeah, I think back then, if you saw a game that was like worth $15, you just assumed it was bad. But like nowadays, like cheap games could be really, really good and just as good as $60 games.
Honestly, I think Portal kind of kicked that off. Like that was one of the first games where it was, there were indie games, but it was to have like an indie game that has like a level of sort of polish and a more widespread. Anyway. Speaking of widespread appeal, there's all sorts of news about things getting canceled and delayed and disrupted due to coronavirus stuff. But over in China, it sounds like things are a little bit on the up and up because some smaller movie theaters are reopening. And to get people excited about going back to the movie theaters, right now, they're re-releasing some blockbuster hits, including but not limited to all 4 Avengers movies, Avatar, directed by James Cameron, and Christopher Nolan's Inception and Interstellar. How do you guys feel about this?
But okay.
I don't know. I'm kind of surprised that they think everything's stable enough to start opening theaters. If it really is that safe, that's great. I'm still pretty nervous about it. So I wouldn't be going to a theater. I don't know how successful this is going to be.
Yeah,
China's been like on lockdown. Like governments are locking people in their houses lockdown. So yeah, the fact that they're opening theaters again, are people even going to be able to go see this? I don't know.
I mean, I didn't read too far into it, but it sounded like it was maybe it was smaller theaters. It says 600 to 700 theaters have reopened, more to come. It's unclear if they're in sort of areas that are less affected or places where sort of quarantine stuff has died out, and they're like the places where it's really bad or under lockdown over here we're in the clear. I don't know. What I think is interesting is that this does in fact reignite the feud between James Cameron and Avengers Endgame for the world box office record holders.
Honestly, like this is kind of an interesting experiment, and I kind of would like to track this specific box office like result just to see like which franchise holds up the best, because these aren't like new. I mean, the most recent one being like Avengers Endgame, but like I kind of want to see if Avatar, which is I think the oldest on that list, if it can hold its ground against the other franchises.
Well, it was like Avatar and Endgame were kind of neck and neck last year, and then what did they re-released Avatar? They really re-released both of them to try to sort of like kind of, and then it was all like, oh, vote with your wallet. And it's like whoever wins, Disney wins.
Yep.
But it's, I don't know. It's so funny. I guess like it would be really weird if this did actually squeak Avatar over the line, and suddenly it kind of like, well, we ran the numbers again, and Avatar is the #1 movie once more.
There would be legit Avengers fans who would fly to China, go to those small movie theaters just so that they can get Avengers back up to beat Avatar again. You guys remember that one guy who saw Avengers Endgame like 33 times or something?
Oh, it was Infinity War, right? Back he had like Movie Pass. I think he
was just trying to watch it as many times as he could so he could get the box office numbers to beat Avatar.
Does he know he doesn't actually have to watch it? He can just buy the ticket.
You know,
like
maybe
you could actually you could buy more than one ticket for the same showing.
Yeah.
Like you could just get that all done in like an afternoon, just buy like a whole theater out, you know. You give out the tickets.
Those movie tickets were for Disney. Watching it 33 times, that was for him.
Yeah.
Right? That was for him right here.
That's fair.
Okay, because I was curious about how these movies were decided on, I looked up the highest grossing movies in China of all time. And #1 is Endgame, but #2 is not Avatar.
What is it?
Take a guess.
I'm guessing it's some
Fast
movie
and
that
Furious 7
is in Chinese. I don't know.
Very close. Fate of the Furious.
Nice.
Oh, really?
Is the
yeah.
It's the #2, I mean, U.S. movie, highest grossing in China. #3 is Furious 7. #4 is Infinity War. #5 is Aquaman. 6 is Transformers: Age of Extinction. Then Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Then you got a bunch more, and then like Avatar is near the bottom of this like top 50 list.
I feel like China as a movie market didn't really emerge until after Avatar came out. Like I think I only started like hearing about China as like an important movie market in like 2013, 2014.
Hold on a second. Those are U.S. movies. Wolf Warrior 2 is the #1 total gross.
Right. No, I was specifying.
I'm like, I know a bunch of Chinese movies actually that are really popular over there. There's no way.
I was specifying U.S. movies. Yes.
Yeah. I've seen Wolf Warrior 2. Fun fact.
What is it about?
It's a war film, and this war crew like saves this woman who was trying to be murdered by bad guys. And
was it good?
It's got some good action sequences. Like
what?
That's cool.
What war?
I don't know, dude. Like it's really campy, but it's a really
popular
wolves? Series. No, that's like their code name or whatever. I don't. It was many years ago. I don't remember the whole plot, but yeah.
So Chinese moviegoers like superheroes, wolf warriors, and cars. Is what?
Yeah, Zootopia is on this list. They like anything with animals in the name. There's Pegasus.
You know what? You know what you won't find on that list? Star Wars.
Very true.
Yeah,
very true.
That series tanks in China.
It's so wild.
They have some weird rules about magic. Like they can't have. They don't. There's the kind of iffy about movies that have magic in it because of like some government rules over there. But like I remember hearing about how that like kind of messed up the reception for Harry Potter. Strange had to get like
oh yeah, I remember that.
Odd stuff there. Now I have to ask you guys.
Yeah.
What if there was a movie that would get you to go to the movies right now? Like if there was like a movie that they would put up, you could wear a hazmat suit. But like, what's a movie that if they were like, we're re-releasing this to get people, to get you specifically out of the house and into the movie theaters? What's that movie?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have two answers.
Yeah.
For real, it would be Mad Max Fury Road because I want to watch that movie on the big screen again because it's so good at that time.
Yeah, that's a solid answer.
A joke answer, but kind of not really, would be Interstellar because I still haven't watched it and everybody keeps saying that the only way you can watch it is on a big screen, and so I feel like it'd be cheating myself if I watch it on TV. I kind of wish that was back in theaters just so I can like get the hype, but if I had to choose, I would choose Mad Max over Interstellar. Or not Interstellar. What am I talking about? Gravity.
Oh, for sure. Choose that over
Yeah.
Gravity.
Sorry.
I saw Interstellar in IMAX, and I would, if there was one movie that I'd go back to rewatch, it would be Interstellar in IMAX. That was like really mind blowing.
I think I need to watch that again. I was like, I don't know. I think I was tired watching it or something. I didn't get into it. I don't know.
Plot wise, I'm not like crazy about it. It's more about like the space imagery and kind of the vastness that they really do really well for that movie.
They had some killer visuals in that.
Yeah, and seeing it like on a big IMAX screen is just like really nice.
No re-release would get me to go to the theaters, to be totally honest. Like,
well, not right now.
What if they made a sequel to any movie? It doesn't have to be a real thing. It could be Wolf Warrior 3.
I have an answer, but it's not like a re-release, because like, why would I go see a re-release that I could just watch on this television actually? But I would go see like the new Batman movie that I'm actually really interested in. That would probably get me out of the house, but that's coming out like what, 2 years from now, a year from now?
Yeah.
We'll find out soon enough. Who knows?
Yeah. But nothing re-release. Like, why would you risk it for a movie that you could just rent?
What if they were like, it's got 10 minutes of additional footage and no one had ever heard of it before?
The original Ninja Turtles movie.
That's a good answer.
10 minutes of never before.
If they were like, hey, we're
Baxter Stockman created.
If they were like, Secret of the Ooze, Ninja Turtles 2, it's got an all new, completely different ending that was like too hot for theaters in 1991. Like,
it has
like,
to be Ninja Turtles 1, can't be Ninja Turtles 2. That one, the parent groups ruined it.
Turtles 2 for sure. Splinter makes more funnies at the end.
Dude,
he makes another funny.
Awful.
And then Turtles he becomes a stand-up comedian.
It is. I would say that is up there with like Terminator 2 in terms of like these are doing two very different things. But I like them both for different reasons.
Yeah, I still like the first Ninja Turtles movie. I think that one holds up pretty well. The second one, they got really weird with it. The third one, just don't even watch it.
The third one is like when you try to show like a dog like what's on TV and they're like looking at it but they don't register what's happening. Like Turtles 3 is so bad I aggressively forget it every time I try to watch it.
And that's the appropriate response, Max.
Wait, Max, what's your answer to your question?
Oh man,
what movie would get you back?
My go-to is Akira. I've never seen that on like the big screen, and I don't know. I have it on Blu-ray, and it's stunning. But like I also went to like there's this weird experimental sound space in San Francisco where it's like 72-point surround sound or something, and these dudes went through the Akira soundtrack and like picked apart every different instrumental layer and made it this insane like surround sound experience. And it's just like just a bunch of people like basically like sitting around on the floor on like drugs and just like listening to it. And I was just like, this is a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, seeing that like with the actual movie to go with it would be kind of cool.
Matt,
anyway,
you and Max.
Speaking of,
you need to hang out and watch Akira. Matt and Max need to hang out and watch Akira together because Matt still hasn't seen it.
What?
What have you been doing?
I've been playing Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing and literally anything else.
Dude,
I want
we
to watch
talked about this. Akira is on Hulu. You know what else is on Hulu? That brings us to our next story.
Hey.
Nice, smooth.
Okay, so Rick and Morty's Justin Roiland, the co-creator of everyone's favorite show about the rude grandpa and his time-traveling son, and they're getting all sorts of scrapes and scrambles. Justin Roiland has a new show called Solar Opposites, which looks very much like Rick and Morty in all the right ways, and it's coming to Hulu on May 8th. The entire season is dropping all at, which is like a nice alternative to how we usually consume Justin Roiland animated content by waiting 4 years for half a season to come out. But yeah, it's about a bunch of aliens who come to Earth, and like there's a family of 4 of them, and 2 of them are super into it, and 2 of them hate it. And, you know, it's like all sorts of wacky scrapes and scrambles ensue.
Isn't this the plot of 30 Rock? What was it? 30 Rock from the Sun?
Third Rock from the Sun.
Third Rock from the Sun? Yeah.
Except they look like aliens in this show.
Oh, okay.
It seems like from the trailer, the humans know that they're aliens and are just cool with it. Like, you know. which is good, I guess, right? It means progress has happened.
I mean, it looks weird, which is right up my alley. I'll watch it.
Looks like fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the first thought that came to my mind when I heard about this, though, is like, is this the reason why Rick and Morty takes so long?
And we dug into that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
So it sounds like this is done by a separate production company entirely, and Justin Roiland's still involved. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm glad he's still making stuff though. Like, it's nice to see him stretch his creative wings.
What 90s Burger King promotion do you think he's gonna bring back? McDonald's promotion.
Which McDonald's promotion? Yeah.
The Sonic figures. That's what I would buy. Just because I never got them.
I'll be into that Arch Deluxe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody, like, I mean, I'm looking at our Instagram comments for the trailer that we posted, and one of them is like, "Man, finish Rick and Morty first." Like, so basically we looked into it, right? And it's a different production company. It's not that they're taking away resources from Rick and Morty to make this show. It just looks very, very similar, and it sounds very, very similar.
Yeah, Justin Roiland is making this Hulu show, Solar Opposites, with his animation studio, Justin Roiland's animation studio company. Justin Roiland's Solo Vanity Card Productions, which is his actual name. And so he's making that with his own animation studio. Rick and Morty was being made by that studio, but season 4, the upcoming, the new ones, that's being done by a different production company. So it sounds like his company is working on this Hulu thing, and he's outsourced Rick and Morty now to a third-party company.
Yes.
So
I wish I could tell all our commenters that, because everybody seems to be under this impression that this is the reason why Rick and Morty's taking so long.
Nope, there's 2 different companies that are working on it.
Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon and George R.R. Martin should all team up and just piss everyone off. Just be like, "Oh, when are you gonna finish that Wins a Winner? Where's Rick and Morty season 5?" They're like, "We got great news. We're working on a whole new project together. It's gonna be real good." I saw George R.R. Martin posted like a video on his YouTube channel. It was like the top 10 pizzerias in New York City, and everyone in the comments, "Finish your book. Finish the book."
Wait, you serious?
Stop ranking pizzerias.
Is that real?
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin?
He's still on Blogspot. It's great.
What?
So funny.
But I like the idea that he took the time to make a top 10 pizzerias in New York City video.
I mean,
Yeah.
He must be feeling so good, right? The pressure's off, because nothing he puts out could be worse than the last season of Game of Thrones on HBO, right?
Nothing.
He's walking on sunshine. He could put out anything, and people will be like, "Damn, that was really good. That was way better than how the show ended."
Seriously.
Yeah. No, he could put out complete just drivel.
I wonder if I read the book, am I going to be missing anything? Because I've read the first 2, I think, and there's a lot of extra context in the novels that he writes. I'd have to be curious. Well, I might just read it anyway, because you can kind of read them as standalones and figure out who the characters are. Maybe chat's read all the books, and they're like, "No, you need to know about the side plot that was not
I'm sure if that dude ever stops ranking pizzerias and making FromSoft games and decides to finish his damn book, I'm sure we'll have some articles on IGN that's here's like what you need to know if you haven't read any Game of Thrones books before you read this book, just to find out how the show could have been.
Josh, is somebody smashing stuff?
Yeah, what's going on?
Oh, sorry, my roommate's making dinner, I think.
Is your roommate making an entire carton of glass milk bottles from the 40s for dinner?
Yeah, he's a transformer.
I like it. So on the subject of damn, I don't have a segue for this one. God of War is getting a comic book, a new one that's a prequel, to find out what happens between God of War 3 and God of War 2018, where he's a crab. This is being published by Dark Horse. It is the creative team of Chris Robertson and Tony Parker, who worked on sort of previous God of War comics. It's called God of War, Fallen God, and it follows Kratos. After conquering Zeus and thwarting Athena, believing himself to be finally free of his bondage, he sets sail for the desert in an attempt, yada yada. Kratos is angry and he walks around doing.
So all I have for B-roll for this is this image. So I'll just show. I accidentally had a layer left on there. Let me fix that really quick. Boop. it had God of War with the previous story's B-roll also. So all right, so it's just Kratos and he's looking all cool and everything. And what they actually said is well, basically what Max said. God of War fallen god follows Kratos after conquering Zeus and thwarting Athena. Did you read this, Max, already?
Yeah, I just read some of that.
Yeah. So
Matt, you had an interesting. You noticed something on this, Matt. A word jumped out at you.
What's up? Sorry.
You wrote a little note here in the runner.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The desert part of the synopsis really jumped out at me because there's no desert in the Nordic, obviously, right? So this prequel takes place in a different region, and when I heard desert, I immediately thought, oh, Egypt, right? And director Cory Barlog went on record and said, like, yeah, I'd put God of War in Egypt or even in like Mesoamerica for like potential sequels. So it sounds like maybe they're exploring some of that for the prequel, and it would make sense, right? Because he would have to go. I guess if he's going up to like Norway or Denmark or whatever, he would go through Egypt maybe, and then up again to go through Western Europe and then up to Northern Europe if he's doing that whole traverse.
Well, he'd have to cross the Mediterranean, right?
Yeah.
He'd have to cross the Mediterranean, get to the desert, and then go up through the Middle East.
Yeah.
To get back to the Nordic area. I know there's like, I watched a video about some hidden lore in God of War that kind of explained how he got from Greece to this Nordic area.
A boat.
I didn't look way too much into it because I was like, maybe they'll explain this later. I don't want to like spoil it for myself, but like I wonder if they'll kind of explain that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they want to make a Norse game, so they were like, let's have him not be in Greece. Let's have him be here.
I actually really loved the God of War series and how they sort of have fun with mythology and the history. Sorry, Max, I screwed up your joke. You lagged out and I thought you were done.
It's not a joke. I'm serious. It's not real. They just decided to move the entire setting. Like, I love that somebody has to so there's not plot holes. And it's like
they have to fill the plot holes.
It's mythology. There's a lot of plot holes.
Yeah. But the way that
what were you gonna say?
So what was the original one? The original one was we're in Norse now. Norse mythology is where we're at. What was the previous one? Greece mythology?
It started in Greece, and then now it's in Norse mythology. Yeah,
and I just love that. And I don't know. I'm kind of a sucker for tie-ins like this that really dive into the lore. I hope the storytelling's good. Do we know who the writer is? Is it a writer we're familiar with?
Yeah, it's
Max Tetsuo.
Yeah, it's Chris Roberson and sorry, I lost my place here. Chris Roberson and Tony Parker, who worked on a previous God of War comic that was an immediate prequel to the 2018 game, I believe.
Cool. I'm down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely want to check it out. And I was doing stuff, okay? I have to do all the playback. I got to make sure things aren't breaking. I'm just
going to start messing with you, lying, making up non-true facts.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, I'm not sure when this is actually releasing, but hopefully it's not too soon because we got news that Diamond Comic Distributors has plans to stop shipping new comic book deliveries to stores as of the week. They're not up on comic. I hope this isn't an April Fool's joke, but no, it's they've basically like kind of just pumped the brakes on delivering paper comics, which and they're the people who take the comics from the factories to the stores. Like they're in charge of all of that for Marvel, for DC, for pretty much all the big stuff. And it's kind of weird because it's unclear if this doesn't include digital publication, and it's unclear if we're going to see like Marvel and DC continuing to put out the issues that they'd be putting out anyway. But for people who collect paper comics and have them, bagged and boarded, it's going to be a weird spot where basically if there's logjam of comics that aren't coming out on a regular basis for however long this stops, if you want to keep up with the story, you can read digitally, and if you want to keep up with everything after you can trade paperback. But for anybody who's getting single issues, it's like that's going to be a pullback for a lot of people.
Yeah. I don't know. Any of you guys comic book collectors? I used to be, and I would just have the retailer, do a pull box for me, and I would buy like $50 worth of comics every week or every 2 weeks or whatever. And then I switched over to Comixology eventually when I was ready to go digital. And Comixology is actually offering, I believe, 2 months free right now. Is that true?
Are they our sponsor or something, Destin?
Yeah.
No, but like
you can go to IGN.com right now for a free Comixology trial now.
Well,
Code
I mean,
IGN Destin.
You laugh, but it's actually a really smart thing and a
Yeah,
good way
for sure.
to keep you up to date with your comics for 2 months to sort of bridge that gap.
No, I did not know that. I might take you up on that.
Yeah, let me see
So
here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
you can see
two
this.
free months of Comixology unlimited access right now. That was from yesterday. And, yeah.
What's up, Max?
Max, what's your pride and joy in your comic collection?
This isn't even mine. This is a lot of stuff my wife bought. I actually have I have like a good chunk of the X-Men's run through the 1980s, which is nice.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I used to do the same thing where I'd go to support my local comic shop and get individual comics and get a pull stack, and it becomes like a backlog. Like it becomes like almost a chore, and then it's like reading stuff that's wrapped up in acetate and taped down and everything is like a lot time consuming than just like opening a book or an app and swiping through.
Yeah, my local
through.
comic shop has been struggling obviously because of the local store closures, and I've been trying to support them, but they don't mail comics.
I tried to.
Oh, Max is still talking.
Comics, but I just.
Max, you so lagged
The internet.
out.
You're
It
lagged
lagged
out.
all comics at once.
Did I? Oh no. What about now?
Oh,
Just
Oh,
give it a
no.
second. It'll catch up. What did he have here for show notes? Uh-oh. That might be bad.
Sorry, Matt, what were you saying about your comics?
sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean
Yeah.
to interrupt Max. I didn't realize he was talking because he was so lagged out for me that I just assumed he was finished. Yeah, my store's struggling. I'm trying to help them out, but they don't offer delivery yet. So I donated to their little PayPal page that they set up. But other than that, I hope they're around by the time that we're all allowed to go outside again.
Dude. I mean, they'll still have your stuff, at least.
Yeah. There were a couple issues that I wanted, and what I did was I ordered them directly from the publisher. Because the publisher mails out comics on their online shop, and so I actually just bought a couple singles from them directly.
So you still buy physical comics?
Just for couple of my favorite writers, but that's about it.
Which-
I have John Allison, Tom King. I'm blanking on names right now. She did the most recent Hawkeye series. Why am I blanking out on her name?
You're sort of stable
anyway.
now, Max, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Sorta.
And is it any better?
Yeah, it's a little
It's
bit
better.
better.
Okay. Because I think I just got fiber internet. I'm not sure.
Oh, you just got it. It just got plugged in.
I think I literally I had to disconnect my other internet, and then I think they just did the thing upstairs, and I think now I'm on good internet. I don't. It's so exciting. Anyway.
Oh yeah. So here's my pull list. It was Walking Dead until Walking Dead ended, and what was the other one that Kirkman did? The superpower guy, Invincible. Yeah, Invincible was really, really great, and I sort of like how he handled it. It was really interesting. Archie did like a rebrand a few years back where it was like modernized, and I really enjoyed that a lot too.
Did you read that? Did you guys read that new Flintstones that DC did?
No.
No.
They did this weird hardcore reboot of Hanna-Barbera through DC that had surprisingly racy stuff going on. They basically made Snagglepuss gay during the McCarthy trials, and
That's not
they
real.
made that. I'm not messing with you. It's totally a thing. They made wacky races in like a post-apocalyptic Mad Max scenario. I think Scooby-Doo was just straight up zombie hunters, and then Flintstones was it was all about like the horrors of capitalism, and I think Mr. Slate was a swinger. Like he had a big party and he invited like Fred and Barney and Wilma and all these people to this big hot tub, and they're all hanging out. And he's like, hey everybody, come. And they were all drawn like way too sexy. It was great time. Real
Way
weird.
too sexy.
Yeah.
Max, I think you did get fiber because you're looking really good right now.
Yeah,
On
it's
Really?
it's like
quality wise. You're like
yeah,
it's Ultra
way
HD.
better.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, you guys should read that Flintstones comic. It's very good.
I heard good things. Yeah.
Do you guys want to talk about Wonder Woman 1984 being delayed, or do you want to talk about Star Wars creatures?
I mean, we all knew it was going to be delayed, right?
Yeah.
Like every not just Wonder Woman, but like Scoob, In the Heights, all of Warner Brothers stuff is getting pushed back. I'm surprised they picked August. Like Disney stuff is like just pushed indefinitely. But Warner Brothers like, all right, we need to lock it down. And they picked August. So.
I guess Josh answered your question because he started to talk about it further.
Well, I just wanted to
talk about Wonder Woman.
wanted for the audience, everyone to know this happened, and then we can move on.
So my weird question here is, I kind of doubt San Diego Comic-Con is going to happen. But at the same time, the first place my brain went with this was that if they're moving this to August, that means that if it does happen or something Comic-Con shaped, I feel like Wonder Woman suddenly goes from being a thing that they expected to have out in theaters to a thing that they're like, more heavily promoting.
Yeah.
It's an odd situation.
Do you think Comic-Con will go digital? Think they'll go online?
I'm
not a crazy idea.
I think we're going to see something like, if Comic-Con just gets axed entirely, a lot of the marketing surrounding certain entertainment properties is sort of targeted at that week. It's kind of the same thing we see with E3, and that's, obviously when they drop a lot of trailers. It'd be kind of crazy if we got if we started seeing entertainment companies taking a cue from how video games are doing things. Like if we got a Marvel Studios version of a Nintendo Direct, that would be weird.
Yeah. I feel like Marvel really thrives off that live audience, but I think they basically do that already. I think their Hall H panels are always put online, and their big announcements are always hyped, and that does sound a lot very similar to a Direct or an E3 conference thing. I could see it.
Yeah.
God, that movie looks good. I'm just watching the B-roll, admiring the Wonder Woman movie. I think the first one. What was your take on the first Wonder Woman? I just like talking about movies. I think the first half was good.
Yeah. I thought it was fine. I think it was
fine.
I think it was one of the most sort of structurally digestible of the DCEU movies. It was very much hey, here's a story that's obviously Bruce Wayne shows up in there somewhere, but it's mostly here's a story about one thing happening. It's not trying to lay the groundwork for 8 other movies. Yeah. I thought it was pretty gorgeous. It sort of reminded me of the Rocketeer, I think. It was just kind of a fun adventure, nothing groundbreaking, but also nothing really, outwardly offensive or bothersome.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to. I mean, the ending seemed like it was setting itself up to be not a typical superhero ending where they just fight the big bad, because the dude shows up, she kills the dude, and
I mean that is what happens. She fights a big bad.
Well, yeah, I know, but they kind of set it up in a way at that moment to be oh, maybe they're not going to fight a big bad, because she kills the general dude, and then Ares shows up and is oh, I didn't even have to do anything. Evil is existing anyway. You can't beat it. And then she fights Ares anyway to try to beat it. And I'm man, it would have been cool if, she thought Ares was her enemy this whole time and realized not even Ares is even if you defeat Ares, this won't stop.
Yeah. Which is why she gave up superheroing for a while. Which that was the reason. She was and so you don't see Wonder Woman from after World War I up until the Justice League. So,
well, up until 1984 now.
Oh yeah, right. So it's weird that they're still doing a prequel, I think, or not a prequel, but a time back kind of thing. But I don't know.
I feel
I wish it was something present day, but whatever.
I mean, I feel the Justice League stuff kind of you can't really do modern anymore without retconning a bit. So I think they're going to try to just do their own things for a bit.
I think the way DC works is some of those characters scale really well with modern day stuff, and some of them completely fall apart if you try to make them set in modern day. I would love so much to get a golden age superhero or Superman movie. Like put him in the 1950s. Like give us a live action version of those old like 1930s cartoons.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, even the stuff that even the Christopher Reeve Superman was like, that's, I guess that was kind of set in like a weird nebulous 1970s with some like,
right, like an ideal metropolitan city.
Yeah,
but I mean, I guess the modern superhero is like, it used to be a novel idea, and now it's like, okay, it's the default. Like superheroes have to be in our present day. But I really like that take, like putting Superman in the 50s, back when he was like created.
Because no one has cell phones, and like, I don't know, more powerful than a locomotive and faster than a speeding bullet were like impressive things back then. Whereas now we're like, yo, Elon Musk crowdfunded a railgun or whatever. You're like, you have to always sort of like pivot. You're like, oh no, this time Lex Luthor he's Zuckerberg. It's how it's novel.
And I think
sorry.
No, go for it.
So one of my favorite scenes actually, where I think they portrayed Superman really, really well. Forget the rest of the movie. And I don't remember which one it was. I want to say it was Returns. But anyway, an airplane is crashing, and it shows how he can't just use his brute strength to like just stop it because everybody will die. He has to be like very methodical about how he slows it down, and I think they did a good job of depicting that in that one scene. It's just unfortunate that the rest of the movie was sort of but I think showing how he's a hero and he has to do the best that he possibly can with the city, but if he saves one person, that means something else bad has to happen, and it's about making those sacrifices. There's a lot of potential for a really, really excellent Superman story, either in modern time or like you said back then, Max. It's just it's about telling the story of how that character would deal with having those powers and the responsibility that comes with making sacrifices of lives, basically. I like Superman a lot in potential wise. I haven't seen a Superman movie that I'm in love with yet, though.
I think like one of the problems too is also like, as you can try to humanize him or make him sort of that relatable. Like how do you like sort of show his sacrifices as someone who's so much bigger than normal man? I think the flip side would be I think it's the Grant Morrison run, All-Star Superman, which is basically just modern.
I heard really good things about it.
It's like modern golden age stories, which feel more like Greek myths than anything else. Like they're a little bit stupid, but they're like it's like hokey stuff where it's like, oh yeah, he makes a thing where Lois Lane gets powers for a day, and then they go on like kind of a cool adventure together. But it's the sort of thing that would work well as almost I could see that working well as an animated movie, or just if it's like a little bit silly, but like I mean. Like look at something like The Incredibles is about superheroes dealing with sort of ordinary circumstances.
Or if you want to talk DC, Flash and Arrow did a pretty good job. Well, Arrow kind of got a little bit too expanded, I think, but Flash did a really good job, at least for the first 2 or 3 seasons, of telling that story of how he dealt with getting those powers and his relationships. And then they brought in the Speed Force and
it's pretty like you brought up the whole like mythological thing. It reminded me of a conversation I had with my girlfriend. She's from Indonesia, and she was like curious as to why so many Americans know so much about like superheroes and stuff, and she didn't know basically anything. Same with Star Wars as well, and like Star Wars, these superhero comic books, I think form a kind of this American mythology. Like we have no real like deep-seated mythology, and the stories that we kind of tell each other or show each other are like ones that we came up with ourselves: Star Wars, Superman, Wonder Woman. So it's really cool, like if we could take that sort of approach to it as if it was a myth rather than like a biopic.
We're already there where like I feel like we're getting soft reboots and like little tweaks here and there, and we've had it's always like, who's your favorite James Bond, like who's your favorite Batman,
right?
Superman's had what I guess a handful. They've been a handful of Supermans, but it's always I don't know. It's always trying to find that sweet spot of how do you tell that story the right way. It is. I mean, I think superheroes are absolutely like modern mythology, and like it's
real quick. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. I was rambling.
We have time for about one more story. I was just wondering what you wanted to go to next.
Oh my god. Okay, so there's a lot of like. Real quick, Michael Biehn from Terminator and from Aliens and from The Rock and The Abyss and also the Scorpion King 4 Quest for Power, which I didn't know about, has been cast as a bounty hunter in The Mandalorian Season 2, which is great.
Yep.
Well, there was a lot of... I just watched The Mandalorian, actually, this past weekend. I binged it. And it was fine. I liked it. I recommend it for people that aren't huge Star Wars fans, but are curious. It is a nice, fresh take on Star Wars. But getting cast as a bounty hunter for that show does not... It's not a lot. Yeah.
He's going to be in like maybe 2 episodes.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
So what I love about that show, like one of the many things I love, is that they are totally like that is set 6 years after Return of the Jedi, which was made in 1983. And if you tack on 6 years to 1983, it's 1989. And I feel like they are casting that show as though it is 1989. And they've got like Apollo Creed in there. They've got like the right amount of character actors. And I feel like Michael Biehn completely supports that, where it's like, he's going to be this like hardened, grizzled tactical dude who like gets vaporized or something. You know,
like Ming-Na Wen was cast in there.
Yeah. Werner Herzog is my favorite character in that show.
No, he's amazing.
Good.
He's such a weird choice. Have you seen him in a Jack Reacher? It's that Tom Cruise movie. He's the villain in the first Jack Reacher, and he's great. He gives a monologue about chewing his own fingers off. It's the best.
He's such a phenomenally strange man.
Yeah,
I love that he's like, yes, I make films. I don't watch them. I see maybe 2 movies a year. I watch the Kardashians. I watch WrestleMania. When I met the baby doll, I held it. Like he like fell in love with the Yoda, and he was like, it. So he's just, like
no, go for it.
He made Grizzly Man, a documentary where you actually hear a man being eaten by bears at the end.
Yeah.
And he made a documentary about like the last text messages that get sent from people who die in car crashes while text messaging. Like the guy is like dark and intense, but then he's also like occasionally just very silly.
Yeah. He's a guy in Rick and Morty who needs a dick transplant.
Oh God, that's right.
He what is it? His cameo in Parks and Rec was great.
Oh yeah, he's like the owner of that house, right?
My favorite.
I feel like everyone just wants to get Werner Herzog and stuff, and they're just like, they're like, I don't care what he's doing. I just want him to be Werner Herzog. Like, and if it helps him make his next movie, then good for him. Get him in here as the guy who needs a dick transplant.
Did you guys see? There was like a very recent New York Times profile on him, like this week that came out, and one of the highlights I think that I read was one quote where it's like, I guess he did a guest appearance on The Simpsons recently, and he was talking about it's like I was on The Simpsons, and you're like, oh, that's cool. He's like, The Simpsons is a very like existential show, and the interviewer was like, oh, you want to like unpack that? And he's like, I'd rather not.
Oh god, that's so Werner.
So Michael Biehn, I'll kind of jury's out on that one, but a much more known quantity that got revealed is that we talked about Ash in Mortal Kombat already, did we?
No, we did not.
We talked about that beforehand.
You got about 2 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's close it out with this one.
Here's a fun thing. The final DLC for Mortal Kombat of Spawn in Mortal Kombat just came out. And then they put out a little email from NetherRealm being like, hey, everybody, come hang out with Spawn in Mortal Kombat. And have him fight Scorpion in Mortal... Sorry, McFarlane sent me these toys, so I'm just playing with them because I haven't put up the unboxing yet. But yeah, they sent out this email, and then the fine print at the bottom, it was like, yada yada is registered trademark of this and that. And then they're just sort of like, Ash from Army of Darkness is a registered trademark. And everyone's like, did you just announce Ash from Army of Darkness in the fine print?
Which is great, and they already sort of have like a move prototype for him because they had Lobo and Injustice a few years back, and the whole shotgun motif, and Terminator here we're seeing on the B-roll, and I think they could build him in a really interesting way, and it's just great that they're having such fun with this cast of characters that they've been introducing. I'm stoked about seeing Ash in the Mortal Kombat.
I love that Mortal Kombat is just M-rated Smash Bros at this point.
Right? Basically.
Dude, honestly, when I first saw that headline, I'm not huge on Evil Dead, so I thought it was Ash Ketchum.
That would definitely be a sign of the end days
Yeah,
here.
that would be a very different game.
Max,
So I was-
Pokemon, Mortal
Max,
Kombat.
I do think we have a hard out at 5 today because of the other show that's launching.
I don't think that's. Oh yeah,
Yep.
that's right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Oh,
All right.
shoot.
All right. So should we wind things up real here? What are we?
Yeah.
We're throwing to.
Yeah, what was
We're
the
throwing
verbiage?
Yeah. No one gave me that.
The
Sorry.
verbiage.
Let me see here. Well, basically, we're doing a watch along of The Invisible Man with director Leigh Whannell on Watch from Home Theater.
Lee
Yeah.
Winnell.
Lee Whannell.
Lee
I
Whannell.
apologize.
So this is the brand new Invisible Man, which was just out in theaters and has since been dumped on streaming. So if you want to rent it and watch along at home, we got a bunch of people in there. I think Clint Gage from Mashable and Brian Altano and I think Terry Schwartz from our entertainment team are going to be watching along, and it's going to be interesting because they're going to be prodding the director to talk about the movie while watching the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they've seen the movie, so
Yeah.
and-
But I mean, I don't know. If there's a part where they don't like the thing in the movie, they have to be like, hey, why'd you do that?
Mhm.
Director there, and the director's in the hot seat. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
That man's invisible. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I should.
Well,
No, me neither.
Yeah.
So basically, you can rent The Invisible Man, play it, and then have the commentary with the director and IGN playing.
Yeah, and
alongside
they're
of it.
gonna walk everyone through how to sort of cue this up. Where basically, like, they start things out, intro it, and then basically everyone's gonna start it and then pause it at the exact same spot. You can go get popcorn, go pee, whatever, and then push play at the same time, and you're having a live comment with the person who directed the film, which is
Sounds cool.
it's kind of a crazy idea.
Pretty neat.
We're
Pretty
hopefully
neat.
gonna be doing more of this.
Yeah. So
And
stick
on that
around.
note-
Check that out.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Later.